My name is Steve Ross. I'm from Los Angeles, where I own a yoga studio called Maha Yoga, which is actually in Brentwood, a very shishi part of Los Angeles, but nice. I'm here in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is, I think, a really interesting choice for a yoga conference because of the dualities involved. I like it so far. We'll see what happens. How I came to yoga, it's a very long story, so I won't bore you with it. But I started when I was fairly young. It just felt right to do. My dad actually taught me, I think, the full lotus when I was 11 or something like that. It just felt familiar to me, like I'd known it already when I started. And so I started with books, and then I found some teachers, and I started with them, and I really liked it, and I actually became a monk for real in the Vedic tradition, which is the Indian tradition from which yoga comes out of. So I wanted to learn as much as I could before I shared it. And then so I ended up teaching in various places in Los Angeles, some very well known, and then I started my own place. The style I teach is really kind of a mutation of styles. It's a combination of vinyasa flow, but also yin yoga with music, and I try to make it more celebratory than the normal, boring, just push your little toe down and be miserable. I want it to be a reflection of what yoga comes out of, which is joy and bliss. So I want it to be happy and fulfilling. And so my idea is to teach a class where when you walk out, you feel good. My whole studio is really just a reflection of my basic philosophy, which is that life is to be enjoyed. So it's much more relaxed, and it's a happy thing. I even wrote a book called Happy Yoga, 7 Reasons Why There's Nothing to Worry About, which is nationally published. It's actually like a whole overview of yoga as opposed to just being an asana book. It's very little asana, really, because that's already been covered. So it's a lot of philosophy, dietary stuff. It's Reagan Books, Judith Reagan, which is HarperCollins. My whole life is really yoga. So I meditate every day, I do asana every day, I do pranayama every day. I eat a very, what some people would call restricted, but I call pure diet. That philosophy is ingrained in me. So there's a saying in the yoga text called Nashevam vidyate kvachit, which is Sanskrit, which means there's nothing but consciousness anywhere. So that's my point of view, that everything I see is but a play and expression of consciousness.
You do kirtan?
I do kirtan all the time. I used to be a rock and roll musician when I had hair, and it was down to here, and I traveled with all these big bands. In the mornings, they looked like they were 100 years older, and I felt much better because I'd done yoga and slept and everything. So, namaste. Kirtan is a way it's one of the best ways to create a meditative state, because you get into a place where singing is natural for people. They're expressing themselves. They come out of their little shell, and it's Sanskrit, which is the most conscious language on the planet. So Sanskrit, I don't know if you know, it actually has, there's male and female syllables in it, which corresponds to the left-right brain hemisphere, and then you have so it balances you. So it's a balancing language. So if you do the right combination of syllables, which most of these mantras are, it has an effect in your subtle body, whether you're aware of it or not. Usually you feel some expansion. And so you're doing that, and it's also a form of breath control, and you're getting beyond your normal petty concerns, and you're focusing your mind into this one area. So you do that, you do that, you do that, and then in between the chants, you can feel your energy field expanding. You can feel the subtle dimension of your being expand, and it becomes much more magnified. It actually produces a natural state of meditation, because you're singing these mantras, you get really high, and then you realize when you sit afterwards, there's no mind. You're just sitting there, and there's instead of the usual fragmented thought where you got a million things going on and you're not focused at all, then all of a sudden all your energy's been brought to one point, and you're really present. And that's the whole point of it. I mean, you can do that without chanting, if you have a strong will.
Some people can.
Some people can, but a lot of people can't. So chanting is a really good way to open the heart and also get people that are more conditioned by our culture to transcend their conditioning. I'm Steve Ross, and you're watching Yoga TV on yogamates.com.